evening.
Evening.
I was wondering, as of now, how long will you be monitoring the situation in phase two before starting to get an idea of when phase three can start? And what do you need ideally to see in phase two for you to make a decision to move into phase three?
I have to explain that phase two actually is a process. Yeah, it's not the end stage, and as we progress in phase two, we will continuously monitor the situation, and when situation allows, we will continue to ease the restrictions somewhat. For example, today we say there is 1 meter subject to a cap of 5% in any social groups. At some point in time when the situation continues to be stable, maybe in 2 weeks, in 1 month's time, if the number of cases remains stable, we may increase that to 10% or a different number depending on the situation. And for some of the restrictions that are still there today, things like large gatherings, events, or even religious organizations, we are in discussion with them, and progressively, when they are ready, when they're able to put in place safe distancing measure, we will progressively allow them to start their operation. Even as they start their operation, we may allow smaller scale to start with, and over time we increase the scale for them to allow more people to join in the events. This will progress as we go along, and eventually when we reach phase three, basically phase three is a steady state. By that time, we are probably going to hold that position in phase three for quite a long time, until when a vaccine is available. So basically, phase 2 is a process, and phase 3 is the eventual endpoint. And when that will happen, we do not know, but it's not a static, once we start end of this week, and then that's it, nothing will happen until phase 3. No, actually the whole phase 2 is going to be progressive, and as the situation improves or continues to be under control, we may be able to relax some more of the restrictions. Because even in phase 2, there are still some restrictions like a cap of 5 and a 1 meter distance and so on. So we will continue to monitor and see progressively when we will be able to release or relax some of these additional restrictions.
If I may just add, we've explained when we put out the broad outline, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, quite some time back, we highlighted that phase 2 could carry on for months. And that's our thinking, because phase 2, there are, as Minister Gan just explained, within phase 2 itself, there are many parameters that could be progressively eased over a period of time. For example, we talk about the rule of 5 people, it can increase to more later on. We talk about allowing places of worship to get started again. Some venues like libraries and museums, conferences, attractions to reopen. Potentially when they start to reopen, this could happen in a few weeks' time. They could start to reopen at that point in time, but with strict limits in terms of the capacity of the number of people who can enter that venue. And then again, over time, we would increase the capacity limits as we continue to monitor and if we see the situation remaining stable. So we expect this process of review, monitoring, easing. Hopefully it's easing, because you never know, along the way we might have to slow down or even tighten some restrictions. But we expect this process to continue for months before we reach phase 3.